Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kortu Marvie, and today I'll be explaining two of my favorite speeches to the class. Um, Today I'll be talking about why I love each of those speeches, what both of those speeches mean to history, to our nation, and also why both of those speeches was very important during its time frame. Um, I love the two speeches that I'm about to explain because without two of those speeches, I don't think our nation would be at where it's supposed to be or at where we at right now. Um, One of those speeches that I want to talk to y'all about is the I Had a Dream speech by Martin Luther King. That speech is by far my favorite out of all the speeches. Um, And the reason to that is because in that speech, it was during a time that we all know of in America as called segregation. During segregation, black men and women and kids were segregated from the rest of not just America, but mostly from the white fraction of America, the dominant part of America. Black kids couldn't go to the same school. Black people couldn't drink from the same water fountain, couldn't use the same bathroom. And although black people had suffered for a long time to, gain their freedom, you talking about countless and thousands and millions of life being lost from people who just trying to gain their freedom back, um, to a place where, you fought so hard and to get to where you at, but at the same time you start asking yourself, like, is this freedom? Is it worth it? Do we really have rights? We don't have the same education system, the same teachers, the same materials, anything like that. And this is where the speech come in. The speech was taken in Washington D.C. And Martin Luther King, and his group, civil rights group, they did a march and they walked through DC, and right then and there, he had a very deep speech, and in that speech, he explained about his quote unquote dream, that God gave him a vision that one day America was united. One day, black men, black women, they work in the same area. African American kids or black kids of any, background, as well as white or Caucasian kids, was in the same classrooms. Teachers, worked together. Everything was united. There was no segregation. And that speech, it really hit home to not just to Black America, but also to a lot of white Americans. I can't say all white Americans because there was still a lot of radical white Americans who did not agree, and still to this day are racist and does not agree to us living together as one, as we're seeing in society today, especially with police brutality. However, because of that speech, our parents was able to attend school with, white people, and we was able to be born in a nation to where, we can unite, have friends with different race, with a different racial group, of any kind, any background, not feel segregated, not have to go through all the pain and torture our grandparents and so on went through. And my second speech to this is really counteract in a way of the first speech. My second speech is Obama, Yes We Can speech. The reason why I say this is because Martin Luther King, obviously, as we all know, is one of the biggest African American image that we have. Whereas he helped pave the way for someone like Obama to be able to, run for president in America, because as we know, during segregation, it was impossible to do that. And here comes Obama in 2008. During this time, I'm going to explain briefly why this speech is important. This speech is very important because during this time, our nation, me personally, coming from a family that is in the military, or that was in the military especially at that time. My father was sent to war, in Afghanistan and Iraq during that time frame of 2001 to 2007, 2008ish, before he came home in 2009 and retired in 2010. Our nation was going through war. A lot of people was, even though we was winning the war, but losing a person on the battlefield is like losing like 100,000 people. So even if you lose one soldier compared to the enemy losing 100 soldiers, it's still painful, because you don't want to lose anybody. And at that time, our nation was going through pain. There was the economy was going downhill. Real estate was very bad. People didn't want to buy houses. Everything was bad. Minimum wage was not enough, which is one of the biggest reasons to why minimum wage started going up, because people couldn't afford to pay the bills. And Obama, Yes We Can speech helped motivate us Americans to realize, like, hey, like, we're America. We're the United States of America. We're, one of the leaders of the world, if not the leader of the world, for a reason. Like, we can't keep our head down. We got to keep our head up and keep pushing. That is what our country was built on, our value, our talent, So that speech is very important because it helped pave the way to put our nation right back on track to where we are at right now. And surely indeed, he ended the war. He brought our troops back home. And he helped the economy to improve. And, those two speeches are one of the most important speeches of my life, that I believe.